Well, it reminds me too of the conversation we had several weeks ago around like, what are you marketing and how are you marketing the gift that God has given you from your fruit? And that is a cohesion point, right? Like say like love is a universal love language, or music is a universal language, or love is the universal language. And it's like, yeah, but really like the fruit at large, which incorporates love and can be demonstrated via music, is the universal language that no matter denomination, doesn't matter our language barrier, doesn't matter what our mission statement is of our particular companies, when we are all displaying fruit and there's like, we talked about joy, we talked about peace, we talked about self-control. If we as society were more conscientious of that in our faith walk than we were about acquiring a new lead or this converting so that I make this particular sales goal this month. It literally will not only change your peace like position, that talk about posture of your heart, it changes the posture of your heart on what is my purpose today? What do I need to get done today? Who am I trying to connect with today? But more so, how am I displaying Christ in my day today? There's so much more peace. It's so much easier to do that, I promise you, than it is to check off a box of a couple things that you need to do in the natural. And so if that is the movement, if that's what, and literally since the beginning, Anthony and I have said that this is the mobilized church. That's what Founder Collective, that's what the Founder Con has always been since it's established. Was we come in, we oil up, we get the good stuff here, and we go back out. And we aren't like upset if the going back out is in a totally different direction. In fact, we encourage that. We're like, don't like link arms with me and walk out with me. Go that way. You go that way. You go that way. There's all of these communities of people who are waiting for us to show up in that sense of authenticity, because they need so much more than they think they need. And it's not about a conversion. It's about it's a conversion for your transformation of your heart, but not about a conversion in the sense of what the world presents it as. And so if we were to convert people on our fruit, I just get so excited about that being the mission, because ultimately when someone says, where does this joy come from? Where does this peace come from? Where does this gentleness come from? All of us at that point, in that moment in time, are all displaying the same message, and we're all pointing back to the same God. And that is not a God that is broken down in denominations. It's the eternal God. It's Jesus Christ. And so I love that part of it. And I just want us to be able to like be intentional in how you go about that thing, and realize, like at the beginning of this conversation, have empathy, have compassion, be present with people. If Anthony went into that situation with his car and he was just like, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to get on my phone and interact with my people and do the thing that I need to do, he would have totally missed God's agenda in that moment. And so it's being okay with being interrupted in your day, in your plan, in your month's goals, and be like, wow, what did God do this month in my life? That reflection point, and it changes even my anticipation of what the next month is going to be. Right. And so I hope today was encouraging for you guys. I hope it brought fresh wind and fresh perspective, even to Easter for this weekend. And that it just brings you into a place of knowingness that it's like, not about everything else, or even watching how other people are celebrating Easter. Like, don't be that Christian. Like my family is all talking about stuffing all the money in the eggs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not buying Easter eggs to put money in, but you guys can do that. And my kids will happily partake. And so trying to process Easter without pointing fingers to be like, that's not what it's about. Right. Right. And they're, but still celebrating with everyone and ultimately pointing back to Christ. I'm making like resurrection rolls. That's like a thing that we've done. Sometimes they don't always work out. Anthony's experienced that before when I tried to have like, what were they, like a vegan marshmallows? I don't know. Anyway, don't use vegan marshmallows with your resurrection marshmallow rolls. It doesn't
No,
work.
they did not rise up on the third day. I'll connect
No.
this last piece of this. As I was in some reflection moment this week, I realized what the mobilization moment was. It wasn't Jesus dying on the cross, because Jesus dying on the cross put the 12 disciples, 11 disciples into fear and hiding and gone back to what they were doing prior to. When he rose up, it says in the Bible that he appeared to them in their place of hiding, in their place of fear. And we all know doubting Thomas, he needed to feel the scars. The thing I'd never thought about before this week was the intensity of his scars. So if Jesus still had the scars from the wounds on his hands, which Thomas touched, can you imagine the wounds on his body that had scarred over? That cat of nine tails that had taken skin out. So when Jesus came in, it wasn't this nice healed body with just a hole in his hands, because that's what Thomas needed to see. The scars, I can only imagine, were not pretty, but there was healing that occurred. That's what mobilized the church out of that fear, out of that hiding towards him, because they weren't running towards the brokenness of his body. They were running towards the resurrection that he promised. They were running towards life. They were running towards hope, not hopelessness.
Anthony,
I
I
think
hope
that's the
this,
call for all of us is in the midst of the ugliness of those scars, they saw hope.